the peaceful village of Okojo is introduced, where time seems to stand still in the embrace of age-old traditions. The village is known for its rich customs, but it is a place where change is feared. Nia, the beautiful daughter of Chief Kofi, is presented as the village jewel, adorned with exquisite local jewelry, her neck beads shimmering as a symbol of her family's wealth and power. The chief's daughter is highly revered, and her life is one of grace, but also of heavy expectations. One day, a strange figure appears on the outskirts of the village, a white missionary named David, dressed in strange clothes and carrying an unfamiliar book. The villagers gossip in hushed voices, speaking of the missionary's purpose, to spread the Christian faith. However, their whispers also carry warnings. Outsiders have always been unwelcome in Okonjo, and David's arrival is seen as a threat to their traditions. Nia encounters David by the village river, where he teaches her the concept of forgiveness and peace. David's calm and compassionate nature captivates Nia, and the connection between them begins. As Nia returns home, the elders discuss the arrival of the missionary with growing concern, as they fear he will disrupt the sacred beliefs that have shaped their way of life for generations. The village shaman, Mama Efe, is a wise and mystical woman known for her deep connection to the spiritual realm. She has always been the guardian of the village's secrets and protector of its traditions. One night, she receives a vision during a trance. She sees Nia standing beside David, their hands intertwined, defying the very fabric of the village's sacred laws. When Mama Ife shares her vision with the chief, the prophecy stirs fear and anger in him. He knows that the villagers will see this as a bad omen, one that foretells a great imbalance. But what worries him most is that the prophecy warns of a coming darkness if the bond between Nia and David is allowed to flourish. The prophecy hints at a deep connection between David and a hidden threat that will alter the fate of Okonjo forever. Mama Efe tells Nia in secret that she must avoid David at all costs, but the young girl's heart is already entwined with the foreign missionary. Despite her warnings, Nia begins to seek him out in the quiet hours of the night, bringing him food and listening to his stories of distant lands. Mama Efe Item, as Nia's secret meetings with David continue, rumors begin to swirl among the villagers. Some elders see her as a rebellious daughter, while others whisper that her heart has been touched by the foreign spirit that David speaks of. Chief Kofi, who watches the power of life and death over the village, grows suspicious. He watches his daughter more closely, realizing that she is slipping away from him in ways he cannot control. One evening, as Nia and David meet in a secluded part of the forest, Chief Kofi confronts them. His voice is thunderous as he accuses David of attempting to steal his daughter's heart and lead her astray. The villagers gather in shock as the chief curses David's presence in their land. David, though startled, tries to explain that he does not seek to harm the village, but only to spread love and peace through the teachings of his faith. However, Chief Kofi's anger clouds his judgment. He warns David that his presence in the village will not be tolerated. If David does not leave, there will be dire consequences, but David refuses to be swayed, and this only fuels the chief's wrath. As the days pass, the tension between the villagers and David grows. The missionary's presence becomes more of a focal point for the village's distrust. The elders summon him for a public trial, where David is accused of bringing chaos and questioning their traditions. Nia watches from the shadows, torn between the love she feels for David and the duty she has to her father and her people. In the trial, the elders demand that David renounce his faith and leave the village. They argue that his teachings of forgiveness and peace undermine the sacred practices that bind the community. David stands firm in his beliefs, refusing to renounce what he has come to teach. In the heat of the trial, Nia finally steps forward, her voice trembling but strong. She defends David, explaining how his teachings have opened her eyes to a greater truth, one that transcends the village's traditions. The villagers are stunned, and Chief Kofi, who has always been proud and unyielding, becomes furious. He accuses Nia of betraying her own blood, her own legacy. In a dramatic moment, the chief declares that if Nia continues to support David, she will be banished from the village. The decision shocks the villagers, and some even begin to question whether Nia's love for David is truly a threat to the traditions of Okonjo. Nia is now caught between two worlds. Her love for David is undeniable, but she knows the consequences of defying her father and the village. She seeks counsel from Mama Efe, who has always been a figure of wisdom in the village. The shaman, however, is divided. She understands the power of the old ways, but she also sees the spark of love between Nia and David, something that cannot be easily extinguished. As Nia wanders through the village that night, she is visited by a dream of the great ancestors, the spirits who have long protected the village. In her dream, the spirits warn her that the path she is choosing may lead to destruction, but they also promise her that true love can overcome even the darkest of fates. Nia wakes up conflicted. Her heart aches as she realizes that the choice before her is a painful one. She must decide whether to stay true to her village and its traditions, or to follow her heart and the love she feels for David. Nia stood by the door of the chief's hut, her heart pounding in her chest. She could hear the low murmur of the elders outside, but her thoughts were consumed by the storm brewing inside her. The door swung open, and Chief Kofi stepped into the room. His broad frame cast a shadow over Nia as his eyes locked onto her. "Nia," he began, his voice steady but laced with anger, "you have gone too far this time. How could you bring shame to this family?" Nia's pulse quickened, but she stood her ground, her chin held high. "Father, I have not brought shame. I only want to understand what David has taught me. His words are of peace, not of destruction." "Peace?" The chief's voice rose, echoing off the walls of the hut. "What do you know of peace, Nia? You are the daughter of the chief. You are not some village girl to be swept away by foreign lies. You are my blood, my pride. You must honor the traditions of your people." Nia's eyes filled with frustration, and her hands clenched into fists. "Why must everything be about the past, Father? Why must we live in the shadow of those who are long gone? David is not a threat. He has not come to destroy our ways. He has come to offer something new, something better." Chief Kofi's face darkened, his eyes hardening like a storm cloud about to burst. "You speak of better? You speak of change? Do you think I raised you to abandon the very culture that has protected us for centuries? No, Nia. You will not marry this foreigner. He is an outsider, and you will not dishonor your ancestors by joining him. I will not have it." Tears welled in Nia's eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "I love him, Father, and I cannot deny it, no matter how much you try to control me. I am not just your daughter. I am my own person. I have my own heart, and my heart belongs to David." The chief's expression twisted with rage. He stepped forward, his voice low and threatening. "If you choose him, Nia, you will be cast out. I will have no daughter who defies the village, who defies me. You will be nothing." Nia's voice shook, but she refused to back down. "I will never be nothing. I will not choose between you and my love, but if I must, I will choose him. For love is not a crime, Father. It is the one thing that can never be shackled." Chief Kofi let out a low growl, his fists clenching at his sides. "Then you leave me no choice." He turned away, his voice cold as ice. "You will be banished. The village will no longer accept you as one of us. Let David be your future, if you think it is worth forsaking everything that you were born to be." David stood at the edge of the village, near the edge of the sacred forest. His heart was heavy with the weight of the chief's words. He had known that the chief would never accept his presence, but the tension between them had reached a boiling point. Now, the moment of truth had arrived. Chief Kofi approached, his stride deliberate, his eyes burning with fury. Chief Kofi spat, his voice full of contempt. "You dare to come into my village, speak your lies, and steal my daughter's heart? Do you have no shame, missionary?" David stood tall, though his heart pounded in his chest. "I have no intention of stealing anything, Chief. I came here to teach, to share the message of love and peace, not to destroy your culture." "Peace!" Chief Kofi's laugh was bitter, like dry leaves cracking underfoot. "You speak of peace, but you have no idea what peace is. You have come here with a foreign god, with foreign ideas that will ruin everything we have built. Our ancestors would never have tolerated such sacrilege, and now you have corrupted my daughter." David's gaze hardened, and he stepped forward. "I have not corrupted Naya. I have opened her eyes to a truth she has never known. The truth of a love that goes beyond borders, beyond color, beyond tradition. You may call it sacrilege, but I call it freedom. You dare to speak of freedom in my village? In my presence?" The chief's voice rose, each word dripping with venom. "You, who do not belong here, who knows nothing of our ways, come to teach us? You have no right to speak of freedom. You are a plague, David, a disease that will destroy everything my forefathers fought for." At this moment, the latch clicked open, and the door slowly rose to reveal no one but David's only daughter. David's eyes narrowed, but his voice remained steady. "I have not come to destroy, Chief. I have come to offer something better than fear. I have come to show your people that love, not hate, is what will bring true peace." The chief took a menacing step forward, his fists clenched tightly. "You have no right to speak of love. You know nothing of it. You know nothing of the struggle we have endured. You are a man of weak words, and you will never understand the strength that holds this village together. If you do not leave, you will regret it." David's heart raced, but his resolve remained unshaken. "I will not leave, Chief. I will not walk away from the love I have found here, no matter what you threaten me with. You cannot scare me. Love is stronger than fear, and I will not be silent." The chief's face twisted with hatred, his eyes burning with fury. "Then you will suffer the consequences. I will not let you ruin my daughter, and I will not let you bring your poison into this village. If you choose to stay, you choose war." David's voice was a quiet but fierce defiance. "Then I will fight for what I believe in. I will fight for Nia, for love, and for the future we can have together." The two men stood facing each other, the air thick with tension. The village, once a place of peace, was now a battleground for a war neither side could fully understand. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the village, Nia and David met in the small clearing near the sacred grove. The trees whispered with the voices of the ancestors, the spirits who had watched over the village for centuries. But for the first time in Nia's life, the spirits seemed distant, as if they disapproved of the path she was about to choose. David stood with his back to her, looking out into the horizon. His face was a mixture of determination and sorrow, knowing the consequences of his actions. "I can't keep doing this, Nia," David said softly. "Your father is relentless. He will never accept us." Nia's heart ached. She wanted to run into his arms, to escape the world that had bound her for so long. But she could not. She had responsibilities, not just as the daughter of Chief Kofi, but as a woman tied to her people's beliefs. "I don't care what my father says, David," Nia replied, her voice firm, yet breaking with emotion. "I love you, but I cannot abandon my people. My place in this village is not just mine to decide, it belongs to all of them. I must consider the consequences of our love." David turned to face her, his blue eyes full of hurt. "Are you telling me that you will choose them over us, over me?" Nia's eyes filled with tears, but she wiped them away angrily. "No, I am telling you that I cannot stand against my father. I am not strong enough to break free. I am afraid." David stepped closer, his hand reaching for hers. "Then let me help you. We will run away, Nia. You don't have to choose them. You don't have to choose your father's wrath. We can build a life elsewhere. We can make our own future." Nia's heart pounded with the temptation. The idea of running away with David, of leaving everything she knew behind, was so alluring, but deep down, she knew it wasn't that simple. "I can't leave them," Nia whispered, almost as if talking to herself. "I can't leave my people, my father, my ancestors." David looked at her, his frustration building. "Then what do you want from me, Nia? To keep loving you in secret? To watch you fade away as your father's power suffocates you? I can't do that. I can't be a man of faith and stand by as you're crushed by the weight of tradition. You have to choose, Nia. You have to choose us." The words hung in the air like a thunderstorm waiting to break. Nia could not answer. The conflict within her was tearing her apart. David, sensing the agony in her silence, pulled away, his heart heavy with the realization that he might be losing her. The next day, Chief Kofi called for a council of all the elders. Word spread quickly through the village that the matter of Nia's future would be settled once and for all. The atmosphere was thick with tension as villagers gathered, whispering in hushed tones. They had never seen the chief so angry, and they feared what would happen next. Nia arrived reluctantly, her father's angry words echoing in her mind. She was torn, caught between the man she loved and the legacy of her ancestors. Chief Kofi stood at the center of the council circle, his imposing figure casting a shadow over the gathered villagers. "You all know why we are here," the chief began, his voice cold and commanding. "My daughter has chosen to defy me. She has chosen to dishonor our traditions by seeking the love of an outsider, this white missionary who has poisoned her mind with his foreign beliefs." The murmurs from the crowd were louder now. Some villagers nodded in agreement with the chief, while others watched with uncertainty in their eyes. Chief Kofi's gaze turned to Nia, his eyes filled with both anger and disappointment. "Nia," he said, his voice dripping with venom, "you have broken the bond between us, between the past and the future. You have chosen this outsider over your own blood. And for that, there can be no forgiveness." "Father," Nia began, her voice shaking but defiant, "I have not chosen him over you. I have not chosen anything over my people. But I have learned from David. I have seen that there is another way, a way that does not involve hatred or fear, a way that binds us together in love, not division." Chief Kofi's expression darkened. "Enough of your lies, Nia. You've been bewitched by the foreign spirit of Christianity. You will never marry this man, not while I am chief of this village. If you insist on continuing this shameful relationship, then you will leave this village, you will be cast out, and you will be forgotten." Tears filled Nia's eyes, but she held them back. She had made up her mind. "I would rather be cast out than live a life where my heart is not free. I would rather be forgotten than lose myself in a world of hatred and division." A gasp rippled through the crowd. David stepped forward, his face pale but determined. "I will take responsibility for her," he said, his voice steady despite the overwhelming pressure. "I will care for her, protect her. We will build a future together, no matter the cost." The chief's face contorted with rage, but before he could speak, Mama Efe, the village's shaman, raised her hand, silencing the council. The elderly woman's eyes glowed with a mystical power as she spoke. "You do not understand, Chief Kofi," Mama Efe said, her voice like wind whispering through the trees. "The spirits have spoken. There's more to this than you know. Nia's path is written in the stars, and no man, no chief, no tradition can stop it." The tension in the air was palpable. The elders turned to each other, uncertainty flickering in their eyes. Chief Kofi's face turned ashen, and he trembled with a rage that threatened to consume him. He had always held the power, but Mama Effie's words spoke of something beyond even his reach, something he could not control. That night, Nia returned to the clearing by the sacred grove. The moonlight bathed the land in silver, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch into infinity. She had made her choice. The question was whether David would be willing to make the same sacrifice. David appeared, his figure dark against the shimmering moon. "You came," he said softly, a faint smile tugging at his lips. I thought you would change your mind." Nia's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "I cannot stay, David. I cannot live a life of lies and fear. I will go with you. I will leave everything behind." David's heart soared at her words, but then doubt crept in. "Are you sure? Are you ready to leave everything? Your family, your village, your people?" Nia took a deep breath, her decision final. "I am ready. For love. For us." But just as they turned to walk away, a loud crack split the air. The ground trembled beneath their feet, and a voice, deep and ancient, echoed from the darkness. "Nia, David, you do not know what you are walking into." The sound of the voice sent a chill down their spines. In the distance, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was Mama Efe, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and urgency. "The spirits have spoken, Nia. The path you have chosen is forbidden. There is darkness ahead. A great trial awaits you both, one that will challenge not just your love, but your very lives." The ground rumbled again, louder this time, as the air grew thick with an unnatural energy. David and Nia exchanged a look of confusion and fear. What had they done? Mama Efe's voice cracked as she spoke once more. "This is not the end, but the beginning." The moonlight dimmed as the villagers gathered around the sacred grove. Chief Kofi stood at the center, his eyes darkened with rage. He knew that the time of reckoning had come. But what he did not know was that Mama Laefe's prophecy was not just a warning, it was a curse. And with it came a price. The stage is set for a battle between love and tradition, with dark forces looming on the horizon.